Now, President Bola Tinubu has presented a proposed 2025 budget of 49.7 trillion naira. A significant portion, that's 15.81 trillion naira, will go towards debt servicing. Now, the president acknowledged the large amount and promised to reduce it. The government also expects to earn 34.82 trillion naira in revenue, with total expenditure projected at 47.90 trillion naira. The president also made promising projections, including reducing inflation from 34.6% to 15% and also improving the exchange rate from 1,700 to 1,500 per dollar. But critics, economists, and analysts have faulted these projections, calling it unrealistic. So what changes and fiscal discipline steps should the government take to ensure that the 2025 budget is not just a repeat of past policies, but a real plan that tackles the root causes of Nigeria's ongoing budget deficits and also heavy debt servicing? Well, let's find out. Now we have our guests joining us. First of all, we have Samuel Yohanna, immediate past organizing secretary of the APC Kaduna State, and we also have Victor Ani-Laju, public affairs analyst in Lagos State. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us on the conversation.
Good evening, Dasha.
Thank you.
All right, so let me begin with Yohanna. Now, Yohanna, what does the allocation of 15.81 trillion naira for debt servicing, which is like 33% of the total proposed 2025 budget, mean for Nigeria's fiscal health? And that's considering the country's growing debt burden.
Good evening, Dashan, and good evening, viewers at home.
Good evening.
I think it's 31.69% of the total budget, not 30%.
Okay.
Like the president tagged it, his budget of restoration, we can see clearly that the budget has increased by about 85% compared to what we had in 2024. And we're spending about 15.81 trillion naira for debt servicing. Well, it's quite high, the amount to service debt. The reason because we're owing about 91 billion US dollars. And certainly, for us not to default in debt servicing, we have to budget huge amount of money for debt servicing. If you put this amount, it's more than what is budgeted for security, infrastructure, health, education, which covers a huge amount of money and is a challenge to the country. What I don't know is how is this amount going to be sourced to service, to implement the budget and to service this loan. I'm sure they will be borrowing there domestically and externally, because without borrowing, I don't see how the revenue that will be generated can be able to support this budget implementation holistically.
All right.
But like the president promised, we're looking at a lot of revenue coming from the oil sector, where we're looking at production of about 2-point-something billion barrels daily, as against 1.8 million barrels daily. I beg your pardon, 2-point-something million barrels daily. So we're hoping that if things all work out well, the budget might be implemented realistically, at least to a certain percentage.
Oh, okay, now let's hear from Victor. Victor, still on debt servicing, with 15.81 trillion naira allocated for, debt servicing in the total budget, what are the risks of this debt servicing becoming an increased fiscal burden for us?
Okay, thank you for that wonderful question. The first thing I want to say here now is that the deficit is scary. But any investors, most international investors, seeing this kind of budget, may not want to invest in Nigeria. I've always said this, that Nigerian politicians, especially the APC politicians, they don't know how to market it. We always put Nigeria in a very terrible situation. Right? You cannot be creating a budget where you have to, your debt is almost half of the amount you are setting up for you. It shows that economically we are down, we're not doing it. It shows that as we speak right now, what should happen is for us to give more attention to industrialization, right? Because if you look at the percentage start from security. Now, if we understand what is going on here, the past 10 years now, security has always been at the top of our budgets. And we are not at war. We are not fighting our neighbors. We are not importing ammunition. So the question now was about why are we spending so much on security, right? But the truth about it is that for us to come out of this situation we find ourselves, we have to sit down with the people and understand where the people are and create a budget that can solve the problem of the people. Number one problem Nigerians are facing today is food. Unemployment, then health. You cannot put security at the top.
Hello. All right. So let's come back to you, Samuel. Now, Victor was just talking about, security carrying the largest chunk, of the budget. And I would like to hear from you, how you would actually assess this particular allocation and what impact it's likely to have on other sectors.
Thank you. I beg to differ with him on security, where he said we're not at war, that we're budgeting that high amount of money for security. We all know the security challenge we have in this country. In the north, we have security challenges. In the north central, we have security challenges. In the southwest, we also have security challenges. And without security action, we all know that nothing can work. Without a peaceful environment, nothing can work, nothing can strike. So the amount allocated for security, if that amount will fully be paid, if implementation will be done holistically and let it trickle down to the foot soldiers on the field, I am telling you, will make a lot of improvement. Though, as I speak to you now, I'm in Kaduna, and we've recorded tremendous security improvement in Kaduna, Zamfara, Exana, and other northwestern states. In the northeast, I think they've made tremendous progress in terms of fighting the insurgency over there, because it's been a very long time where we had the terrorists overrun probably a particular town or a military base. That's the same thing applies to the North Central. I think the security agents have been doing a very good job, and I think with more support, they will do a good job. Like he said, no foreign investor will want to come and invest in a country where, one, there is no security, two, the economy is not stable. So I think that's why that amount of money has to go for security. But I will urge the government to actually monitor the implementation of this budget, because you find out that in the past, money will be allocated for certain agencies or ministries. Allocations are there, but releases are not there. So, allocating funds and releasing the funds are two different things. So there's so much work to be done. And the major challenge always is implementation, because if we check, we don't know how many percent so far has been implemented from 2024 budget. So not allocating money for infrastructure and other things to be done, and at the end of the day, implementation it's poor. That won't take us anywhere. Okay. So we need to really look at our level of implementation.
All right, now I'm being told that Victor has reconnected. Now, Victor, before we lost you, you were speaking on, the huge chunk that security has actually got. And Samuel has actually said that he doesn't agree with you on the fact that we're not at war, looking at the rates of terrorism in the northeast and the northwest. So please go ahead with your chain of thought.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that the question about the insecurity in the north, and which are extending into the east, it's not a cause for, how am I going to put it, that you have to buy more weapons, send more money to people. You have to address their social welfare of those people. As we speak right now, close to 20 million children in the north are out of school. These are potential future Boko Harams. If you don't educate them right now, if you don't provide jobs for their parents right now, that is another generation that is going to come on board and we start creating more mayhem within our economy. What I'm saying here is that what I meant by we are not at war, well, this our security challenge is not something that you need to buy more jets, more armor tanks, more ammunition. No, it's something that you need to look into the social welfare of the people. And when you look into the social welfare of people, that can help to solve the problem.
Well, some would actually beg to differ with you, considering that most of these terrorists also have, exotic armor tanks and, equipment and firearms that they use to cause mayhem.
That's not the truth, because our military have not actually used our airspace. If they decide to use our airspace, these Boko Haram would have been a thing of the past. Boko Haram are just few young men who are just trying to extort money from the federal government. And you and I understand what is going on here. It's like you are trying to kill a rat inside a clay pot. It's not something that you have to come with guns and all. No. If you want Boko Haram member to sit down with you to have a dialogue, you can make it happen. It's not really about guns and all of that. Like I always say, as far as we are not fighting war with our neighbor, it's an internal issue. We can all sit down as family and discuss. And believe you me, I think it's high time where our politicians, we have to have a roundtable discussion with the followers, with the citizens. We have not seen that in this country for many years now, over 30 years now. I don't think we have had a situation whereby leaders will sit down with the followers and say, let's have a discourse. The people causing mayhem in the north and east, they are Nigerians, right? Let's have a discourse, and on that discourse we could set up a scheme. They've done that before in Niger Delta, and it worked. We could set up a scheme that can educate these same people and give them that sense of belonging to the society. What I meant that we're not at war is that this insecurity does not need guns. It does need a level of education, intervention, and a little bit of infrastructure. And this whole thing will be solved. But my pain is that the military keeps eating chunk of our budget, and they keep spending so much. And up till now, if you calculate how much have been spent in security for the past 10 years, is enough right now for us to stop spending that kind of money more in security. By now, we should have more education topping the budget. We should have more of health topping the budget. We should even have more of agriculture, which is what we are supposed to be doing as we speak right now. Because if we want to diversify from oil into agriculture, that means agriculture should be top in our budget. We should be putting more money into creating more farms,
All right, now away from from security. Now let's talk about, the fact that the proposed budget, projects inflation to fall from 34.6 to 15% by 2025. So many people, critics, opposition, that's the PDP, and even economists have actually said that this is unrealistic. So how realistic is this target?
It's not achievable. You cannot do that, especially when your budget is not focused at the people. If inflation that we see that is facing Nigerians today is, number one, we have scarcity of food, right? So the few food that is out there, people who have money to even buy it, they are going to buy it at a very high price. So if we really want to solve inflation, we need to make sure that Nigerians have capital to spend. Nigerians have access to capital.
Okay.
And how can you do this? First thing first, you have to create a scheme where every Nigerian, irrespective of your religion, your location, or your political affiliation, you can have access to funding. If you want to know, as we speak right now, economically, we are losing a lot of SMEs, a lot of small businesses. And those are the people who are actually pushing the economy that helps inflation not to go too high. Okay. So I think this budget does not look like a restoration budget.
All right, now still talking about projections and restorations, and this is for Samuel now. The government also targets reducing the exchange rate from 1.7 to 1.5, that's 1,500 naira, to $1. How feasible is this exchange rate target in the current global economic climate?
Yeah, that's like Victor just said. You see, the welfare of the citizenry has to be improved upon. And if we want to bring down the inflation level of inflation, we have to scale up our level of production. Because as it is now, we're import-dependent economy. And in a situation where almost everything we use, we bring it from outside, there will be pressure on the scarce resources we have. So government have to invest a lot in infrastructure. You see, power is key. If government does not take a drastic action on energy, I'm telling you, all what we're saying will be going around in a particular cycle. And you see, small businesses have actually folded. Energy is a major factor, multiple taxation, and corruption is endemic in the system. So the government needs to, put in more effort, concerted effort to see that all these things are resolved in no time, so that people, the citizenry purchasing power will increase. Because I speak to you now, the purchasing power of Nigerians is gradually going down daily, and by the time you can't afford basic needs at home, what comes to your mind becomes another serious challenge. So even at work, you'll be able to concentrate and give in your best. So there's so much work to be done.
Okay, so now over to you, Victor. The government earlier, Samuel talked about, crude oil production and all that. Now, the government has actually set a crude oil production target of 2.06 million barrels per day, but production is currently below 1.5 million barrels at the moment. So how feasible is this goal? And how do you think this underperformance will, the impact that the underperformance will have on the budget's economic assumptions?
Well, one thing we all should come to agreement is that the leadership, everything rises and falls on leadership. If the Nigerian government is willing to increase the crude oil production to about 3 million, it can even do it. If they are willing, I use the word if they are willing. Now, from my own personal investigation and what we discovered, per day, Nigeria drill over 3 million barrels but I think about they only account for about a 1.5 million barrel, 1.5 million barrel. That's what they actually record, or that's what they give to government. There are other means where they use other ways to settle some other things, and private individuals within the Nigerian government also have their own application. They carry and sell within the country or outside. But the truth about it is that the government itself have not shown leadership. One of the best ways for them to show leadership when it comes to 2025 is even their ability to be more transparent. When I mean more transparent, we should be able to tell Nigerians the exact number of barrels crude oil that is due per day. There should be a proper means where Nigerians can checkmate it and confirm that what is announced is what it is. But as it is today, it's whatever the government tells us, that's what we take. We don't have private companies or private investigators that give out those information. We don't have private organization that edits these government parasites. We're just getting information that the government gives to us. And we understand how the Nigerian government is run by private individuals that sees that as an opportunity to make money for themselves. Right? And I think OPEC we have close to about 2.5 million targets. I think OPEC gave us that target to be able to supply 2.5 million barrels per day. And as it is, we're officially doing 1.5. So we still have 1 million barrel, additional. And there's nothing stopping us. The government have not come out to tell us that this is what is stopping us from delivering the goal, what OPEC have asked us to deliver. So it's more like this budget is just a ghost budget. There are no substance, there are no evidences to hold this budget to accountability. You cannot say you want to work with exchange rate for 1,500. It's not possible. What are the indices that you are going to do to make sure the dollar exchange rate drops down to 1,000? There are no workable plan. There are no action plan that you say, okay, we are doing this. Well, just like what my brother said, we are building a factory that can supply us food, for example. That itself will reduce the demand on dollar, right? So what I'm saying here is that for us to be able to stand as an economy or as a country, the people must have the power to be able to do business, to be able to buy and sell. Right now, Nigerians don't have access to not even infrastructures, not even social welfare, not even phone, not even money for us to be able to meet up with our daily demand. So, and people who have not been able to feed themselves, I don't know how you expect them to work. All of these whole budget is still boils down to the day-to-day transactions of Nigerians. And the SMEs, like I said before, are the people who are the principal. They are the foundation of the day-to-day transaction. Right? And as you see, they are no more standing. So whether we produce 2.5 million barrel, we are not seeing it. It's not reflecting in the country. It's not reflecting in the life of Nigeria. What we want to see a budget that reflects in the life of the people, where the people can say, okay.
All right,
yes,
you've touched on some of these sectors. Now let's hear from Samuel as well. Samuel, considering health and education, 2.4 trillion naira for health and 3.5 for education. Do you believe that this is sufficient to address our significant gaps in these particular area? So many people seem to think that that is even a more important, or those are more important sectors compared to security.
Should have been more money injected into the educational sector, because one of the major challenges of insecurity in Nigeria is ignorance. Most of these criminals, mostly the bandits in the north and the terrorists, they lack Western education and religious education. You see, an educated man, it would be very difficult for you to convince him to go and get himself involved in crime. In as much as we know that a lot of these criminals have never ever seen the four walls of the classroom. And without education, you can't make progress. I would have expected education to have gotten more than what is allocated to it in this budget. As I speak to you right now, there are over 25 million children out of school in Nigeria. And most of these children are from a particular region in this country. And this same region has been grappling with insecurity for over 10 years now. So I'd expected that there would have been more money into education. The money that went to security, that is going to go into security, it's okay. They see the challenge always with that money that goes to security. It is the implementation. If you meet most of those security agents at the front line, their complaint always that their welfare is not being cared for. At times they tell you that it is from the villagers that they get something to eat. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I traveled to one of the northwestern states. I came across a lot of soldiers at their checkpoints. Though they didn't come out directly to ask for gratification from me. Probably they were not comfortable with my appearance because of my clean shave and my death set. But I saw what they were doing to other motorists. And as I speak to right now, Dasha, most of this gratification they collect on the highway is part of what is added to the cost of items when it is taken to the market. So if something is not done about the welfare of the citizens, I am telling you, like I said earlier, we'll be going out in one particular cycle. I cannot be doing one thing always and expect to get a different result. So it's not late. By the time the budget is implemented, budget review can be sent in to see how some of those agencies can get more funds allocated to them. But like I said earlier, I want the budget implementation to be done holistically. Let it be transparent, that everybody will see that what is allocated to a particular sector, it is what is approved, and the releases and cash backing is done in good time.
Have your final thoughts just before we wrap up?
Sorry, you mean my party shots?
Your final thoughts. We're about to wrap up, so let's hear your final thoughts.
Okay, my parting shot will be that.
That's for Victor, but okay, so let me just give you 1 minute to just wrap up, Samuel.
Okay, and you see there's this insinuation going around. Every time people complain about some things in this country, they keep pointing to the politicians. I will speak from where I belong. That's the political cycle. We politicians are not as bad as people portray us. We come and go. We come and meet the civil servants and we leave them there. That's one of the terrible sector in this country is the civil service. If the executive or the president, does not actually take a bold step to see that this budget is implemented to the letter, I am telling you, it's the same story every day. Because I was listening to one of the legislators this morning. He said, every year you see budgets to buy utensils, to buy computers, to buy vehicles, and these are not perishable items. Year in, year out, these things keep appearing in our budget. And who are the people that inside this in the budget? They're the civil servants. So please, we the politicians are not as bad as we are being portrayed. So we shouldn't be in the public eye always for one or two negative reasons. No, there are good things that will come with it, we politicians. So where we have done well, we should be encouraged to do, we should be appreciated and encouraged to do better.
All right, Samuel.
So I think this was...
Thank you so much for that. Now let's hear from Victor. Quickly, please, Victor.
Yeah, okay. So I'll just flow with Samuel's thoughts. Right? The challenge for the civil servants is enormous, is obvious. There are take-home pay is very low. In fact, it's very poor. What we make here in a month is what people make in the US in a day. So you cannot be talking about a civil servant that earn 30,000 or 40,000, and you expect that civil servant to deliver or do their best, or not to be corrupt. And when you are a civil servant, you are seeing a politician that just got to office within a month. That politician is earning millions of naira, and you want to tell me that he's a civil servant that is from? No, the politician should be able to sit down and come up with a juicy package that can meet up the welfare of Nigerians and also the welfare of Nigerian workers. I do not believe, as of today, even if they say they have increased it to about 75,000 naira minimum, how many state governments can pay? When it was 35,000, there are very few who pay, right? So that comes back to what we are saying. Whether we have a budget of 100 trillion, if the workforce is not well taken care of, if the workforce, if they don't have good welfare package, that budget is already dead on arrival. So that's what I'm thinking.
All right, well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time and also for speaking to us on the conversation. Samuel Yohanna, former organizing secretary of the APC Kaduna State, and also Victor Ani-Laju, public affairs analyst. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you, Dasha.
Thank you for having me.